Oh, hi there. Today I would like to talk about scorched earth and how it still can be used as a weapon of war in today's standards. There, in the Geneva Convention of 1977, it was banned. Um, this is after the Vietnam War, and of course, the Americans used Agent Orange and Agent Blue. The information about that is available on Wikipedia, and a lot of information is available of Scorched Earth available on Wikipedia. Uh, Granted, it's written in a Western kind of slant, so you don't really know if it's entirely accurate or not, but it's going to be accurate enough that it can give you a good idea of what exactly it means. It's an ancient technique. It was used well before the Soviets in World War II as the Germans were advancing. It was used in Roman times. The Scythians used it. In the Sino-Japanese War, it was used. It's been used in Africa plenty of times. Although of the rules of war, it's not supposed to be used anymore. It still has been. In the Iraq-Kuwait War, Saddam Hussein used it, and so a lot of people go, "Oh, he was a U.S. puppet, and then the Americans betrayed him." Well, that's not entirely accurate. It's not, that hard a thing to understand. What are you, oblivious? He broke the rules of war 20 years earlier, or or like 15 years earlier, 10 years earlier. I forget. But anyway, the point of this video was to emphasize that a lot of people aren't going to follow the Geneva Conventions, specifically countries in Asia. They don't recognize the rules brought upon by the United Nations and anyone like that. The Russians don't either, but depending on circumstances, we more or less can get along with some of the people in those countries, but not all of them. Like, there are more radical leaders that don't get mentioned in Western media, and those are the ones you got to be worried about. It's the ones you don't know anything about that are the real problem. That's why guys like Kim Jong-un, for example, although I don't like him, he's actually not that bad, really, considering, what his perspective is, what historical perspective, the Americans' position, that sort of stuff. I mean, his father was in charge when the Pueblo incident happened. Supposedly, a lot of American sailors were set free and allowed to go home. I had heard that one of them was killed as the North Korean said, as he tried to resist. And the captain, or whatever the rank of the commander of the vessel, who knows what happened to him. They won't exactly tell you that he was probably tortured, and who knows what happened to him. But, I mean, he was an enemy leader in territorial waters that belonged to them, and he fucked up. So if they just put him to the firing squad, then, as much as it would not be cool that a high-ranking American military officer was killed, he still fucked up. He shouldn't have been caught. Should have known better. But, that's ancient history. Anyway, I wanted to talk about Scorched Earth. The thing is, there always has to be a contingency plan. the leaders of every country have to think of every possible conceivable outcome of certain events and what would be best to do at what time. And for example, when you don't have any other choice. I was specifically talking about the Asian regions and using scorched earth because it's no secret to anyone with half a brain that the Asian continent wants to invade North America. They have relatively small countries in a relatively small axis of their power. I don't know how well they control the China Seas, but I guarantee you they probably have the largest submarine fleet in the world, so that would be difficult to contain. But it's impossible for them to send their soldiers all the way over to North America, at least so far. They're constantly thinking the mouse is always running on the wheel, and they may come up with a way of doing it one day, and bam, it's it. Everything's all over, because they cannot take North America. Our advantage of our terrain will be compromised. We won't have the global sphere of power, like as Western society is placed all over the world. We have satellite countries in Asia. There's Europe. We're getting on better terms with Russia. We got Australia, North America, South America, some parts of it, South Africa. Well, India, yes and no. I gather it's mostly no at this point, but there are some parts that actually don't mind, well, in particular England. But what I'm getting at is if an army is ever to mass and show up at the, into the North American continent through whatever means, there has to be a way to make it not worth their while, to discourage them from coming, and not only that, make it so that if they do come here and we can't stop them, that there's nothing for them to gain out of it. This is a worthless continent to them. And there are many doomsday devices that could easily destroy anything of any value in this continent. Like easily it can be turned radioactive, so that no plants grow, the water's poisoned, everything's destroyed, any resource as far as oil, anything worth anything is destroyed. And there are leaders in the military in the United States and Canada and pretty much every country that has a military that can and will do this if the circumstances are dictating that that's what should be done. They will do it, and they won't ask you. They'll just do it. They won't ask anyone. They'll just do it. And that could happen anytime. There's no law saying that they have to tell us, 3 weeks, 3 years, 3 decades in advance that, for example, the Chinese have developed some sort of, cloaking technology, teleportation, I don't know, anything, to get over to here. And if that happens, then they need to act immediately. So lighting off a few nuclear weapons and destroying all of mankind, mutual assured destruction, is a very real thing. And the Chinese know this. But that won't stop them from trying to think of a way to get over here. They know if they do get over here that everything will be destroyed and the world will be over. There's so many scenarios where that is the end game, depending on what military moves, what parties do, the end will be mutually assured destruction. Right now, you see things to try and distract you from who the real enemies are. They're trying to blame Islamic extremists. And that's kind of true, but they're vastly incompetent and unable to be a significant threat. And the only reason they really are a problem that we can't, just squash like an annoying bug is because of other countries, primarily China, parts of Russia, and there's other countries sticking their nose into the business and saying, well, no, you can't do that because if the Americans full on tackle this issue, we'll call them ISIS or whatever, whatever faction that the Americans want to go after, they will intervene. And they're not doing it because they support the Middle East or anything in particular. They're just doing it to spite the Americans. And I say the Americans is a kind of a vague general term, because there are military leaders in Canada, in France, in Russia, with their worldviews and the way they go about thinking and doing things. You could basically call them an American. American is just a term, really. I mean, yes, if you're born in America, you believe in American values, you're an American. But when you get up to the upper echelon of the military society, it's what you can do to better the Western standpoint that deems you whatever it is you want to be. You want to move to Canada, you can move to Canada. You want to move to England, you can move to England. If you're helping in a significant way the war effort, because a lot of people don't understand this. War is a normal state of affairs. There's always somebody out there who's pissed off with us, or we're pissed off with them, and it's practically always going to be that way. There's always going to be a hint of evil in the world, because too many of the wrong type of people have weapons of mass destruction. This is why I made that video about South Korea and talking about Jason Unruh and how I completely disagree with him. I am sick and tired of his argument that self-determination, they have the right to defend themselves, and blah 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 blah. No, they don't. And don't take my word for it. Do your research and really think outside of the box and figure out things for yourself, and you'll learn that there are people who are gonna say, no, they don't have the right to do that. No, they can't do that. And Jason Unruh and his pitiful little YouTube channel aren't gonna change that, and he most certainly is not gonna change their minds. He isn't gonna change my mind, and I don't have a successful YouTube channel. So what chance does he have to actually speak to a military leader and convince him otherwise? He has no chance. Yeah, it's just a scorched earth theory, man. You just, it's a solid fact that the Asian continent in particular wants to invade North America. Because North America, with the amount of resources we get, the kind of climate we have, the hospitable terrain we have, easily could last thousands and thousands of years and, take, mankind's abuse for that long as far as environmentalism and all that sort of stuff. And, we'll be relatively okay. But in Asia, there's a lot of, disgusting areas where they can't grow food. There's like smog and pollution. I mean, we have a little bit of that over in North America, in particular Toronto. but it's really not that bad over here. I mean, it's certainly something we could clean up. Eventually we'll get to it. But in Asia, they really can't wait that long because, time is against them. That is why they're losing this covert secret war. And it's something, a lot of people don't want to understand. They don't want to think about it. They just want to go, no, I want to read my newspaper, watch Murdoch mysteries, drink my tea, watch an NBA game, whatever, and they don't want to think about it. But I'm one of these people who does think about these sort of things. And, as I've said before, global hysteria. It's hard to keep a lid on things. But fortunately for me, I've been conditioned to think these kind of thoughts and not be worried about it. Because I have this unshakable thought pattern, belief that we are winning, and it's only a matter of time before things go our way. And there are some people who are going to be frothing at the mouth, just absolutely hating every word that comes out of my mouth. And the fact that they can't touch me, that they can't do anything, they can't stop me from talking, I take great amusement in that. Because there are a lot of misconceptions about reality and what's going on in the world, and I can debunk them just through simple logic. I don't need physical proof. I don't need a Wikipedia page to prove that. Because you don't know who wrote it, when they wrote it, why they wrote it, and all these sort of things. I mean, they can be helpful, they can give you ideas, but they're not exactly without their faults. So anyway, I do recommend that you go to Wikipedia and look things up, such as Scorched Earth theory, as I was talking, because there's a lot of history about it that they talk about. And although there seems to be a lot to read on the Wikipedia page, it goes way longer than that. You could talk about Scorched Earth theory for, 1,000 hours if you wanted to. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But the thing is, as I said, at the drop of a hat, without warning, Scorched Earth theory on a global scale could happen. And that's just because some technological advance or some other factor that determines that's what is required for the military and the government to do. There's a lot of things about war that people they don't understand. And don't let people's language confuse or trick you, because that's what they'll try and do. They'll try to use words to inhibit your ability to think, and what I call mechanisms to alter your thought. A Jedi mind trick, really. Just don't let them do that. And try to think of if it's possible. Is it probable in certain circumstances? Is there going to be someone who's not going to take no for an answer? Is there someone who's just going to go ahead and do it? And has the resources to, and will go about doing any thing that is necessary with little to stop them? Is there someone like that? And you may not know their name, what they look like, or anything about them, which you don't. I don't. But they exist. It's secret government stuff. So anyway, I have to go to work, so I could talk about this longer, but I have to finish this video up. So I will talk to you guys later. Have a good one, and yeah, see you later.